While exploring the land just outside of Freeside, we come upon a big fenced-in farm area. This is the NCR Sharecropper Farm. We learned from the farmers here, in particular Trent Bascom, that the farmers here came from California. The NCR encouraged them to come here and work the land in exchange for free water and their protection. It's not a bad gig. Considering the state of most wastelanders in the world, these people get a place to stay, fresh food and clean water, and they're protected 24/7 by an army. However, not all things are roses and sunbeams here at the NCR Sharecropper Farms. While exploring the Sharecropper barracks, we bump into a woman named Morgan Blake.
Oh, you here to work? I think I have an extra shovel around here somewhere.
We're not here to work, but we can ask her what's been going on around here.
Well, crops aren't doing so well. I'm thinking it might be something in the water. The pump station is pretty run down. You could go take a look around the place, see if you find anything strange going on. What do you say?
Sure there, Morgan. We'll check out that pump station for you. We find the pump station east of the NCR Sharecropper Farm. There are two doors to this building. The southern door leads to the cistern. There's not much in there for now. The northern door leads to the pump station proper. Inside we find a variety of food and scrap and one terminal, the pump station terminal. We get a message telling us that there's some sort of data corruption on this terminal, making even the interface completely illegible. With a science skill of 50 or above, we can repair the network connection. Once repaired, we can access the terminal to learn that the filtration system has detected radiation. However, it can't detect any leaks within range of the facility. The radiation must be coming from some external cause, and we are next tasked with heading east to see if we can find the cause of the leaked radiation. Our compass takes us east of the pump station. Heading along the road, we pass underneath one of these big water pipes that connects the Sharecropper Farm to Lake Mead. In the distance, we see some gnarled trees. Our perception picks up some enemies off in the distance, so crawling along, we can head north through a gap in the rocks to find some golden geckos. These geckos will charge, but they are fairly easy to take out. Turning north, we see a military truck with a bunch of toxic waste barrels in the back. Getting too close, we get a big dose of radiation. And nearby, we find a path down into a cave leading to the door of Vault 34. Unlike most vaults in the area, the big gear-shaped door is not right here at the entrance. No, Vault 34 is buried deep within this mountain range. In this cavern, we kill more golden geckos, and we find big toxic disposal sites in some of the nooks and crannies. Heaps of toxic barrels surrounded by glowing green nuclear waste. At last, we reach the door to Vault 34, and we see that it's already opened. In the entrance, we see a feral ghoul, but the name of this feral ghoul is Vault Dweller. Oh no, if we find a feral ghoul and his name is Vault Dweller, that must mean that the radiation is coming from this vault and has turned all of the inhabitants into feral ghouls. This would explain why we were sent here to investigate the source of the radiation leak that was corrupting data on the terminal inside the east pump station. Heading inside, we don't see much. There is a room off to the north, and in this room, on one of the desks, we find the Overseer's Journal fragment. This is one of 4 journal fragments we will find here in the vault. Our task now is to piece together the story of what went on here. Like the corrupted data in the terminal we read at the pump station, this fragment doesn't tell us the full story, but let's get what we can from it. We learn that the population of Vault 34 is growing. The vault is becoming overcrowded, and the Overseer tells us that with the overcrowding came violence. The violence escalated when the Vault Dwellers were forbidden access to a stash of firearms in the Vault Armory. The original design of the vault did not have the armory connected to the main system, and the armory couldn't be locked. That may have been part of the original experiment. But after the overcrowding became an issue, this Overseer placed guards at the armory door to prevent the troublesome residents from obtaining weapons. Most of the residents of Vault 34 understood why the Overseer made this call, but there was a little bit of opposition. People were afraid that their right to defend themselves was being infringed. Well, this is was an interesting turn of events. We first heard of Vault 34 when we met the Boomers. I did an entire video on the Boomers. If you haven't seen it yet, you can check out the Boomers by clicking here. The Boomers originally came from Vault 34. When we go and listen to the history of the Boomers by talking with Pete in the Boomer Museum, he shows us a mural depicting the Boomers emerging from Vault 34. During that presentation, he tells us that one of the reasons the Boomers left Vault 34 is because the Overseer wanted to keep weapons away from them. This is now confirmed in this journal fragment that we have found in Vault 34. The Overseer did indeed want to keep weapons from the residents because the Overseer felt like the overpopulation was going to lead to violence. We learn from the Boomers that weapons are really important to their culture. They feel like it's their right to have weapons, to defend themselves, and they enjoy detonating large explosions. If they came from Vault 34, then that means that most of the Boomers were raised in an environment where they had free, unfettered access to an armory filled with a bunch of weapons. Was this the experiment that Vault Tech was conducting here? To find out what would happen if we filled a vault with hundreds of people to the point of overcrowding and then gave them all free access to an armory filled with guns. Well, I believe the answer to that experiment is manifold. In part, a segment of the population left the vault. These are the Boomers. But the rest of the story has yet to unfold. Where have all of the vault residents gone? Why are these ghouls called vault dwellers? What's with all of the radiation, and why is the Overseer's notes in fragments scattered around this vault? We've left the entrance and walked across a catwalk overhanging this cafeteria. This has been a great spot to attack the numerous feral ghouls that have charged us. Some of these have said Vault Dweller, others have said Vault Security. These Vault Security feral ghouls are pretty tricky. It's important to loot as many dressers as we can here in Vault 34, because it's in the dressers where we will find the Vault 34 jumpsuits. These are important to save and give to Sarah Weintraub on the New Vegas Strip in order to complete the quest Suits You, Sarah. We'll walk away from Vault 34 with a dozen or so vault suits. Now, we're also here to complete Veronica's companion quest. When we took Veronica to the Hidden Valley bunker to meet with the Brotherhood of Steel, she had a hard time convincing Elder McNamara that the Brotherhood should end the lockdown and be more active in the Commonwealth to refresh their breeding stock, to become more numerous and to become more important again. Because there's so much interesting and fascinating technology out there. McNamara was not convinced by Veronica's argument, and so Veronica and I are here to see if we can uncover some advanced pre-war technology that might convince him. Veronica heard tale of a gun that was held here in the armory called a pulse gun. When we visited the Boomers, we managed to lift a key to a locker in this vault from the leader of that community's private room. This is more evidence that the Boomers did indeed originate here from Vault 34. So we have a lot to do here. Collect vault suits, find the armory with the pulse gun, and somehow stop this radiation from leaking. We've managed to explore into our room behind some windows overlooking this cafeteria. In this room, we find one active terminal. The first note says, "Welcome." It begins by bragging about the wonderful accommodations here in the vault. This vault features a state-of-the-art fitness facility, including a full-sized swimming pool. But then the text begins to get all garbled. Psychopos-pryneal-sized living quarters duify. What? This reminds me of that terminal we found in the pump station. The radiation had made the text and the user interface illegible. Maybe that's what's going on here. Maybe the radiation that turned all of these vault dwellers into ghouls has somehow corrupted the data on these terminals. This means we're really going to have to read between the lines to uncover the story of what went on here. Let's see if we can finish reading this. The vault had beautiful personalized living quarters, but with limited space. Vault-Tec, however, believes that they make up for the limited space with a fully stocked armory, located on the 4th floor. So it's true, this was intentional. Vault-Tec purposefully made this vault small and stuffed too many people into it, with the sole goal of seeing what they would do when they had unfettered access to an armory. The next note is a flooding warning from the system. The mainframe has detected flooding on the 3rd floor. The automated security system has therefore shut the doors to the 3rd floor. Well, it sounds like we've got some swimming in our future. The next one is a warning about the reactor. The system has detected moderate damage to the nuclear reactor. We are advised of high radiation levels on the 4th floor. This radiation from the cracked reactor must somehow be leaking from underground up into the east pump station, messing with the pump house efficiency there, which is making it harder for the farmers to farm their crops. The final note is a garbled log, and this has been mangled by the radiation. We can get a few words out of this. Since the riots started, the overseer removed free access to the Armory. We can't even defend ourselves. Something, message for whoever finds it, and it just trails off. So the overcrowding did indeed lead to violent riots. Without access to weapons in the Armory, the Vault Dwellers couldn't defend themselves. Turning the corner, we kill more vault security guards, and these are feral as well. We have to fight a lot of these feralized vault security guards. By the time we're done with this vault, we will have put dozens of these guards on the ground. How many guards did this community need? How many people were stuffed into this vault? Sometimes these security guards will have Vault 34 jumpsuits on them as well, so we're going to make sure to loot all of their corpses to get as many of these vault suits for Sarah's quest. Well, we've explored this top portion. We now need to go downstairs to the cafeteria. There are many boxes and lockers and lots of rubble in every corner. We see that furniture has been piled into makeshift barricades. More evidence of the riots and violence that broke out here in Vault 34. We see a big puddle of neon green nuclear waste laying on the floor. Perhaps the radiation from the reactor has condensed in this cafeteria on the floor. We see a big hole in the floor leading to a level beyond. A feral ghoul's legs are dangling down into it. We can shoot at more feral ghouls through this hole. Instead of dropping down, let's finish exploring this floor. Perhaps we'll find a way down. Heading through the eastern door, we find a hallway with 2 directions. Heading south, we go towards the diner. Like the cafeteria, the diner is filled with rubble and makeshift fortifications. On the northern side, we find a full skeleton with a doctor's bag and a copy of Patriot's Cookbook. I believe there are scripted events that spawn more of these vault dwellers as we loot items, inspect terminals, and otherwise interact with this vault. Because you'll notice as I explore that I'll get attacked by 2 or more of these vault security guards just after having looted something or inspected something. Thankfully, Veronica and ED are there to intercept them for me. This diner room is a dead end, so before we take the stairs, we can go back to the cafeteria level and head through a door to the south. This leads us to another decrepit room filled with bones and rubble and radiation, but aside from that, we don't find anything else. So it's back to the hallway where we turn north to open a door and go down some stairs. This leads us to a new hallway that takes us west, where we have to kill even more vault security guards. Immediately to the left, we find a door to the systems room. Here we find a lot of electrical equipment and terminals. There are weapons all over the place. I haven't pointed them out, but I've been looting 10mm submachine guns, 10mm pistols, and 10mm ammunition all over. By the time you're done, you'll walk away with dozens of 10mm weapons. Back out of the systems room and continuing around the corner, we can loot more corpses till we find a door that's inaccessible. Looking through a window, we see more of these feral vault dwellers. Let's see if we can find a way into that room. Continuing along, we pass by a sign that points towards the clinic and the overseer's office. Heading down a nearby hallway, we come to a flooded section of the vault. We read about this, we were expecting this, but this water is glowing green. Now I can't wear a rebreather and a radiation suit at the same time because the radiation suit covers the face. So if I go swimming in here, I'm gonna come out glowing. Well, before we explore this water, let's see if we can find the clinic and the overseer's office. Right next to these signs, we find a bedroom with a Patriot's Cookbook lying on one of the tables. Interestingly, the door is held ajar by a couch propped up into it. Continuing along, we can open a door leading to another bedroom. Inside, we have to kill that bedroom's former occupant, a vault dweller. This vault dweller tried his very best to guard himself from the riots and the violence. He barricaded himself inside, only to die from radiation. On one of the desks, we can find a Milsurp review, and another 10mm submachine gun just laying out. Rounding the corner in the hallway leads us to what looks like a clinic. Here we have more vault dwellers to take care of. We see a lot of privacy screens set out and first aid kits littering the ground. Here we find a broken Mark III auto dock. The dialog box says that this auto dock was primarily used for routine surgeries, but this one's control systems have been damaged beyond repair. The auto dock is useless, but it looks like the diagnostic scanning unit is still intact. This auto dock isn't useful for us now, but depending on the choices you make later in the game, you may need to come back here to scavenge parts from it to repair another one to heal a certain individual. On the nearby wall, behind a makeshift barricade, we find an average locked wall safe. Since this is a clinic, we find a bunch of chems. There's another door in this clinic leading out. Heading out and going down the hallway, we can round a corner to find another hallway leading to another sunken part of the vault. So that's 2 stairways filled with water that we need to remember. Opening the nearby door, we find more ghoulified vault dwellers inside a bedroom. And my gosh, they just keep coming. Remind me to do something about my AP. I keep running out of AP. And my aim is horrible outside of VATS. In this room, lying on a night table, we find the second excerpt from the Overseer journal. We learned that after a time, residents of the vault began to call for population control. It was at that time that the Overseer ordered one of the technicians to hook up a locking mechanism linking the Armory door to the terminal in the Overseer's office. But this very act was the thing that angered a large group of the vault residents. They demanded that they be given access to the Armory so that they could defend themselves in case there was a riot, and the Overseer said no. Well, geez, it's almost as if this Overseer wanted the riot to start. Heading down the hallway, we find a door to the left that leads to a utility room. In this room, we find a desk with more ammunition and 10mm weapons, and a terminal, but this terminal is locked with a very hard lock. We have to have a 100 lockpicking skill to unlock it, which I don't have. Maybe we can find a key. Also in here, we can loot some Vault Tech security armor and a security helmet. This is handy if you use combat armor. Both of these can be used to repair your combat armor. And then heading left, we find a door to the Armory. We can go down the steps into the Armory to hear the ghouls growling at us on the other side of the door. And of course, as soon as we open it, we get attacked by more feralized Vault Tech security, one of which is a glowing one. After these 2 are dead, we round the corner to find 2 more. Another one, which is a glowing one. Again! Once dead, we can finally explore this armory. Heading east down a hallway, we can turn left into a room. This looks like a recreational room of some sort. We find a billiards table in the corner and a reloading bench, which will come in handy. On a nightstand in this room, we find a copy of Guns and Bullets. There's a door in the western part of the room, but it's completely blocked in by rubble. So this is a dead end. We can head out back west down the hallway. The door we came in on is on the right, but the quarters section is completely caved in. Turning left, we find a door to the equipment room, but it's locked. This is likely the room where we're going to find the pulse gun for Veronica's quest, but we can't get in there yet. We have to find the key. So we need to find 2 keys, and there are 2 underwater sections. I don't think that's a coincidence. Let's see if we can find them. Heading back upstairs, we can put our rebreather on to explore the first sunken portion of the vault. Immediately to the right, we find a door, but it's locked and it says that it requires a key. Back out and turning right, we find a room with a ghoul. Oh, but it's a dead ghoul. It's a vault technician. On the corpse of this vault technician is the Vault 34 utility terminal password. Great, maybe this is the key we need to access that one terminal we found with the very hard lock. Heading back up and going into that room, we find the terminal and the password does indeed work. Accessing this terminal, we have all of the same terminal entries we found on the last one with one new one. System. Activating system gives us an option to activate the pump station. Activating the pump station pumps all of that irradiated water out. Heading back to the sunken room, we find a door now blocking our path, but it's not locked. We can pass through to see that the water is completely gone. Activating the terminal has also unlocked that locked door that we found down this hallway. Continuing through, we can kill some more feral ghouls to arrive at a big room with rubble and skeletons on the floor. Here we can loot more Vault-Tec security armor to repair our combat armor with. And in the back of this room, we find another copy of the Overseer's journal fragments. This is part 3. We need one more to complete the set. We learned that the riots began soon after the Overseer shut down access to the Armory. When the violence was at its most extreme, the group that had been harassing the Overseer for access into the Armory stormed the vault's exit and left. That must be the Boomers. We know how much the Boomers loved their weaponry, and we know that they left Vault 34. This event must have caused the Boomers to no longer want to live in Vault 34, and to want to go and forge a new future for themselves. But this was a blessing in disguise. I mean, after all, wasn't the problem of this vault overpopulation? With the people clamoring for guns gone, the Overseer sealed the vault exit after them, and posted additional guards at the exit. It seems like an odd thing to do when the problem was overpopulation to begin with. Wouldn't they want people to leave if they wanted to go? The Overseer admits that this was a horrible mistake, because by placing extra guards at the exit, there were fewer guards to patrol the halls. And these guards patrolling the halls were ambushed by another group of vault dwellers trying to get into the Armory. The guards managed to defend the Armory, but not before one of the reactor cooling vents was damaged during the battle. The terminal on this desk is also locked with a very hard lock, so it looks like we need to go find another key. Gosh, it sounds like this Overseer is completely incompetent. You've got a vault filled with too many people. It's overcrowded. People are complaining. People start talking about needing population control, which is a very scary thing to hear. How do you control a population? By controlling who has sex with whom, by controlling conception, by controlling how many children you're allowed to have, or even by killing people. And who makes that decision? Some sort of voting bloc, or the Overseer? Very scary stuff. But instead of dealing with this diplomatically, instead of allowing people to leave, the Overseer responds by shutting down access to the Armory. An armory that everyone had had access to, free and open access to, up until that point. Of course they're going to notice, and that's going to freak some people out. Now they're not going to be able to defend themselves when people start to riot. So that, of course, causes a riot to get into the Armory to get the weapons. But it sounds like the Boomers, who were the ones who were complaining the loudest about gaining access to weapons so that they could defend themselves, didn't ransack the Armory. Instead, they rushed the exit and left the vault. That was the most logical solution. The vault is overcrowded. Leave the vault. A huge group of Boomers left the vault. They didn't go steal a bunch of weapons. They didn't raid the Armory. They just left. And how does the Overseer respond? By closing the exit again and stationing armed guards at the exit to prevent people from leaving. What on earth kind of decision is that? You would want people to leave if the vault was overpopulated, especially if there was a violent riot going on. Why would the Overseer place guards at the exit? All of these stupid decisions on the part of the Overseer led to the violence that damaged the reactor cooling vents, which turned the entire remaining vault into ghouls. Well, it seems like the obvious place to go next is to that second sunken portion of the vault. Back upstairs, we go through a door. We can retrace our steps down a hallway to go through a door to the first floor. Heading through the clinic, we pass the Overseer's office to go down a hallway with a leak springing from the ceiling to find the other sunken portion of the vault. Equipping our rebreather, we can dive on in. There is an entrance to the right, but it's blocked up by rubble, so instead we swim through the opening directly in front of us. Here we find another vault technician dead underneath a desk, and like the other one, on his corpse is the Vault 34 security terminal password. With this password in hand, we can retrace our steps to go down to the floor below and go back to the previously sunken floor to use the password to access the locked terminal. On this terminal, we find a new log entry. Tonight we attack the Armory. Something will finally get the presumably weapons we need to win. Something will show them population control. The final system entry here grants us access to the Overseer's office. This is a disturbing log entry. I'll tell you what it makes me think. It makes me think that inside Vault 34, you had 3 factions. You had a faction of people who saw that the vault was overpopulated, and their natural conclusion was that the vault needed population control by killing the less useful people of the vault. You had a second group of people who didn't think population control was the answer, obviously, because who gets to decide what part of the population is controlled? Who makes that decision? We get into some Orwellian territory here. Naturally, they don't want to be controlled. They They don't want their friends and family to be killed. And so when the Overseer locks down the Armory, they get really upset and nervous because now they can't defend themselves. When the first group of people starts to go through the vault, controlling the population. And then you have the third group of people, the Boomers, who agreed with the second group of people that they needed access to the weapons, but figured the best way to solve the overpopulation issue was just to leave the vault, which is what they did. So the third group, the Boomers, leave. The first group is still talking about population control, and the second group schemes to storm the Armory to get revenge upon the group that wants to kill all of them by killing all of them. That's why they end the memo saying, "I'll show you population control." Back upstairs and through the clinic, yet again, we can turn left to open the door to the Vault 34 Overseer's quarters. This is more than just the Overseer's quarters, this is an entire other wing to the vault. We see condensed toxic waste at the very bottom of these steps. More feralized vault security guards attack us. Heading down the hallway, we see two doors. The Overseer's office to the right, propped open by a barrel and a box. Operations directly across from it, but this room is blocked by rubble, and a security room just north of the Overseer's office. Beyond this is a hallway that rounds a bend. Here we can kill more feral ghouls. And first we'll go into the security office. Here we find more Vault-Tec security armor to repair our combat armor with. In the back of the room, a desk with a copy of Milsurp Review on it, and another terminal. This terminal has another garbled log. Don't these people understand? We're running out of room in the vault. We need to limit the population. We can't continue to grow at this rate. Our support system cannot handle this kind of growth. Can't they understand? This is necessary. Yes, but why don't you just let people leave the vault? This is necessary? This is a memo from Group 1, the group that wants to kill people in the vault to control the population. What do you mean this is necessary? Just let people leave. People clearly want to leave. The Boomers left. Let the rest of the people who want to leave instead of just killing them. I'm sure anyone faced with the choice, leave the vault or die, would choose leave the vault. Why is it necessary to kill people? Why is it necessary to control this population? What is wrong with these vault dwellers? Backing out of this room, before going to the Overseer's office, we can round the corner to continue down this hallway. We find a door at the very end with more Vault-Tec security inside. There's a flammable gas in this room, which can be helpful when trying to kill these ghouls, but it's also easy to be caught up inside of it. After the ghouls are dead, on the ground here we can loot a doctor's bag and a copy of True Police Stories. Heading out of this room and down the hallway at the very end, we see an inaccessible door. The sign on the wall says stairs, and there's a bunch of condensed toxic waste on the floor here. Why is this room inaccessible? Will we find a terminal to unlock it? Heading back, we can go down the hallway to the Overseer's office, only to find the Overseer, an amber glowing one, sitting in the Overseer's chair with two machine gun turrets pointed at you. I was in my radiation suit, so I took a whole lot of damage, but thankfully, VATS made pretty quick work of these machine gun turrets. Somehow the Overseer was able to summon more ghouls. During the fight, I had to turn around and take care of some Vault-Tec security ghouls that had arrived. With one final blast from my medicine stick, I was finally able to kill the Overseer. And on the Overseer's corpse is the Overseer's password. This unlocks the nearby terminal. But before we use the password to read the terminal, near to the terminal we find the final journal fragment from the Overseer. When the Vault Dwellers learned that the reactor had been damaged, the violence calmed down before people started to panic. The Vault technicians struggled to repair the damage to the reactor and the main computer systems, but they learned too late that the automatic safety protocol within the Vault had been programmed to use alternative pipes in the vault for its cooling system in case there was damage. But that automated system was unable to detect that the backup alternative cooling pipes were the pipes that had been damaged. So the automated safety system pumped radioactive gases through the broken pipes in the vault, irradiating the entire vault. And to make matters worse, the automated system triggered a forced lockdown. Manual override functions have been disabled. The entire system is on autopilot. The Overseer ends by saying we'll just have to hope we can survive long enough for the door to open automatically, which it must have eventually done, because when we arrive, the door was open. Now that we have the terminal password from the Overseer's corpse, we can use it to access the Overseer's terminal. We can take a look at the Overseer's journal, where we find find 3 notes, all 3 of which have been corrupted. The first one is completely corrupted. We can't even open it. The second one, we have to pick a few words out of here, but basically what it says is, it's necessary for the survival of this vault that we set limits on the growth of our population. That's why I sealed the door and posted guards. Since the riots began, I want to let them fight like dogs. The rebels attacked the Armory, but they were unsuccessful. But during the fight, the technicians informed me that the reactor was damaged during the assault on the Armory. Many went to the control center to escape the fighting, but those who remained were unable to repair the damage. The next one says, many have died due to radiation sickness. Their skin was peeling off, they're losing their minds, and the sick are attacking the healthy. One group of the healthy fled to the southern section of the vault, and they sealed the halls behind them, hoping to escape the fate of the rest of us. Now we understand why the Overseer shut the exit. Now we understand why the Overseer locked the Armory. The Overseer wanted the riots. Instead of mandating a mass execution to thin the population, which is unethical and would leave the Overseer with a lot of personal guilt, the Overseer tried to foster a riot by shutting down the Armory under the guise of doing so for their own protection, with the hope that the Vault Dwellers themselves would kill enough of each other to control the Vault's population by natural selection. Only the strongest would survive. Only the survivors, the few who remain, would be able to inherit the rest of Vault 34, now that the population was controlled. But what the Overseer didn't calculate was the possibility of the riots harming the very vault within which they lived. The boomers escaped before the violence, the Overseer locks the doors, the reactor cooling breaks during the riots, the automated system shuts everything down, and now everyone is exposed to high doses of radiation and they can't leave, turning almost everyone, even the Overseer, into feral ghouls. But it looks like one small group remained. At the very end of this garbled note, we hear about a group of people who managed to flee to the southern section of the vault and seal the walls behind them. Could they still be there? Can we find them? To continue on, we go down beneath the Overseer's desk into the reactor tunnels beneath the vault. Here we find more vault technicians, until at last we come to the mainframe terminal. Here we find a message. SOS. If there's anyone still alive out there, we need help. Someone planted a bomb in the pool. When the lower level flooded, all the doors were automatically sealed. My family and a few others are trapped behind those doors. If someone could transfer control to the backup terminal, I could get us all out. Please help. So the Overseer was right. There are survivors still trapped somewhere in this vault, perhaps behind that one inaccessible door we found earlier. And we learn how the vault got damaged. One of the rioters planted a bomb in the pool. That's what damaged the vault. That's what damaged the reactor cooling pipes. The explosion of a bomb in an underground vault. Idiots! And now our quest updates. We have 2 options. Option 1, shut down the vault's reactor to help the sharecropper farm, which will improve farming efficiency, or save the trapped vault dwellers by leaving the reactor intact and giving remote control to the backup terminal while dooming the sharecropper farms. Oh, we have a choice here. NCR sharecropper farms or the vault residents. What do we choose? There are more terminal entries here. The next one is another garbled log. A group attacked. The reactor was damaged. All attempts to repair it unsuccessful. We need to manually override the lockdown. We opened the exterior vents. That should buy us some time. So it looks like the vault technicians opened the exterior vents, releasing the radiation from Vault 34 above ground, which of course has damaged the water pump at the sharecropper farms. But they did this to buy themselves some time to get rid of some of the radiation, but not enough. Not before all of the technicians turned into feral ghouls. Now, we have 3 options here. Open the reactor door, close exterior vents, and reroute the vault control. If we choose the option to reroute the vault control, it will send control of the vault to the Vault 34 survivors who are currently hiding in some non-irradiated portion of the vault. This functionality has been locked out of this terminal. We have to enter the reactor to activate it. The other option, to close exterior vents, will result in a reactor meltdown, destroying the entire reactor, and likely dooming the Vault 34 survivors. We must also enter the reactor to choose this option. So let's open the reactor door. The reactor is a large vaulted room with knee-high irradiated water covering the floor. We find the reactor terminal against the western wall. If we choose the option to seal the external ventilation, we hear a loud noise, we see gases pouring into the room, and we complete the quest, Hard Luck Blues. Checking the terminal again, we see a note saying that the entire place is about to shut down. We've completed the quest by dooming the survivors. We get a nice big dose of NCR fame, and we complete the quest, but no karma hit. Neither of the ways to end this quest affect karma in any way. This ending is a little underwhelming. We can go back to the sharecropper farms and try to talk to the people there, but they don't have anything to say. Supposedly, we've made the land easier to plant crops in, but neither Morgan Blake, the woman who gave us the quest, nor Trent Bascom acknowledged the work that we've done. The other option, of course, is to reroute control of the vault to the survivors in the hidden section of the vault. Choosing this option, we immediately complete the quest Hard Luck Blues. We get more experience, but we don't get any NCR fame. We don't see any immediate benefit to making this choice. However, many days later, if you visit the Aerotech Office Park, which remember is a refugee camp run by the NCR, go to the very back of the park until you find a door to Suite 300. There we will find 4 vault dwellers in Vault 34 vault suits, led by a man named Horowitz.
Greetings. Pardon my enthusiasm. I'm not accustomed to meeting so many new people, but I find you fascinating. I've tried to learn as much as possible about the surface world since our community left our home.
Recognizing the number on their vault suit, we can tell Horowitz that we're the one who turned off the vents at Vault 34.
You? Did you redirect the power stream back to our section? We thought nobody would ever manage to get past the radiation and the ghouls. We owe you our freedom, Outlander. Please, if there's anything we can do for you.
We then have an option to refuse a gift or to say that we would like a vault trinket.
Of course. Please, take this. We carried as much useful technology as we could before our journey into the surface world.
He gives us an advanced radiation suit, which is 10% better at protecting us from rads than a regular one. I read online that we can come back to him many times to get other such trinkets, and that they can be different each time. It must have been a big change, moving from Vault 34 to this surface world. How's it treating you, Horowitz?
Kindly. The leaders of this fine community have accepted us among them. They give us food and protection from the outside. Some people here seem extremely unhappy. They keep talking about getting shafted, swindled, and fucked. Apparently somebody did them ill. All the way inside the surface city with lights, the Strip and Freeside they call it. We're lucky to be here alive and well. The land's a mystery to us, but we'll find our place in it.
Each of the vault dwellers will have something nice to say.
Hey.
We're in your debt. Thank you, Outlander.
I heard you talking to Horowitz. Can't thank you enough for what you've done for us.
You're the one who saved us. Thank you.
But you know what? We forgot something. We originally came to Vault 34 in search of the pulse gun. Heading back upstairs, we can retrace our steps through the door that leads down to the armory. We can unlock the previously locked door. Inside, we kill another Vault security officer, and then we can go around the perimeter of the room looting to our heart's content. We'll find a whole lot of guns and ammunition, C4 explosives, a detonator, which you can use to detonate the C4 explosives, and on the southwestern side of the room, we find a locked gun case. If we have Colonel Blackwell's key that we stole from the leader of the Boomers at the Nellis Air Force Base, we can use it to unlock this case. Inside, we find the pulse gun, which deals an EMP, doing bonus damage to robots and those in power armor. It's a handsome little device. And I'm sure Veronica will forgive me for trying it out on her. Additionally, we can walk away with a bunch of Vault-Tec security armor to repair our combat armor, missile launchers, tons of ammunition, a minigun, grenade launchers, automatic weapons, and even the unique marksman carbine, the All-American. A beautiful little weapon. And that is the story of Vault 34, and it leaves us with an ethical dilemma. Which is the best option? To shut down the vents containing the radiation within Vault 34, saving NCR sharecropper farms and the food that they produce for all of the NCR forces in the Mojave, or saving 4 people trapped in the vault? Well, I have really conflicting thoughts on this. On one hand, the food produced by the sharecropper farms is extremely important. It gives jobs to people who had no jobs. These farmers came from California. They needed the work. The jobs are safe. They may be hard, but the NCR is protecting them. The work itself is important. It provides food to NCR troops and to refugees whom the NCR gives shelter. The refugees at the Aerotech office park are not NCR soldiers. They don't have businesses. They don't go and get their own food. They are fed by the NCR, fed food that is grown at the sharecropper farms. If we allow the radiation to continue to escape from Vault 34, this could damage the quality of that food, maybe harming the health of a wide range of people in the Mojave. And these survivors are from Vault 34. They're kind of sleeping in the bed that they've made for themselves. They're the ones that chose to rebel against the Overseer. They're the ones who chose to start a riot which caused the damage to the vault. They're the ones who placed the bomb in the swimming pool. Shouldn't we just let them rot in the vault since they did this to themselves? On the other hand, reading all of the terminal entries and the notes from the vault, I think we get a clear picture that the great villain of this story was the Overseer. It was the Overseer who incited the riot by shutting down the Armory and locking the exit. The Overseer started this riot to try and thin the vault's population. They wanted them to kill each other. These vault residents are more of a victim of the Overseer and Vault Tech than anything else. And there were 3 camps. The Boomers are not responsible for any violence that happened at Vault 34. They had left long before that violence broke out, and these survivors clearly fled from the violence. Maybe they were being pursued. But were these survivors the ones who originally advocated for population control? Were they the ones that stoked the fear of population control, which partially led to the riot that broke out here? Maybe they are responsible. Maybe they talked about killing people in the vault, having a lottery, for example, or killing off the diseased, the handicapped, the sickly, or those that didn't fit in well with society. Maybe these survivors are the very people who advocated those strategies, only to flee to safety when the rest of the vault rebelled against them with violence. Is it worth saving 4 lives to allow a vault to emit radiation into the atmosphere forever? Is saving 4 lives worth contaminating the food that the NCR needs to feed their troops and take care of refugees? It's a tough call. The practical solution is to side with the survivors. You can always get positive NCR reputation elsewhere doing a bunch of other quests, and this way you can go back to Horowitz to get a vault trinket. You can walk away with a better radiation suit, and you don't lose or gain karma one way or the other. However, and it pains me to say this, but I think the most ethical choice is to close up the vault's vents and allow the reactor to melt down. Yes, this likely forever traps the 4 survivors in the vault, but it's a tough call, and I think more lives will be saved, with healthier food in the Mojave for people to eat and safer water for people to drink. And I don't think these 4 survivors are guiltless. There's no real way to know, but I think it's likely that they are culpable for the mayhem that resulted in this horrible accident to begin with. But those are just my thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. What are your thoughts? What choices did you make in Vault 34? And where do you rank this experiment on the long list of insidiously evil experiments that Vault-Tec has undertaken? Let me know in the comments section below. I read all of your comments and I use your comments as inspiration for my future videos. I make lore videos on a wide range of Fallout topics, so if you want to make sure that you don't miss what I publish tomorrow, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. I've got a t-shirt shop, folks. If you'd like to find an Oxhorn or Fallout themed t-shirt, be sure to check out the link to my shop in the description below. And if you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. Patreon subscribers gain access to a private channel on my Discord server, as well as a bunch of other cool Oxhorn perks. But more than anything, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, with a brand new video.